Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I came in today to do, yes, a review of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I had intended to do these reviews, but the Sunday it premiered is the Sunday that my house caught fire. So I am starting now, and I will be trying to review them every week. So the first ones up that I wanted to talk about was Phaedra. Now, we watched Phaedra on the phone discussing, all that is happening with these shootings of unarmed black men. Now, whatever you say about Phaedra, I will say that I appreciate what she's doing, because this is a subject that needs to be discussed. It is something that we need to work on, because these people are shooting and getting away with it. And her going to Washington and sitting down with that panel and just discussing options, of things that we can do to try to stop this. I don't know how it's going to work, because it's been happening since the beginning of time when a black man first stepped on this continent. So it's a lot of work involved in trying to get some resolution with this, but I must say that I do commend her, because she is committed. And I think it's because she has those two sons, it makes her commitment even more solid. Now, this relationship between her and her little freaking frack, they are funny together. I think these two are hilarious. This friendship that has developed between them is enjoyable. It makes you be able to take each one of them a little bit better, because when they are together, they are like Lucy and Ethel, or Wilma and Betty on the Flintstones. They're just funny together, and it seems like they actually enjoy each other, and that there is a real friendship there. I think after the friendship ended with Candy, this friendship with Portia means a lot to Phaedra. Portia, is there as a sympathetic ear when Phaedra is discussing things with Apollo. So I like that. And then, it was this talk that Sheree had with her son, Cairo. As a mother, I believe that conversation that Sheree had was real. What Cairo did really upset her. I believe that they said that he was smoking marijuana and possibly drinking, and he got pulled over for DUI. In the world that we live in, Sheree is right. As a black young man, he has to be a little bit better, and he has to do a little bit better, because as she told him, situations like that can really go left and he could lose his life. And as a mother, I know that Sheree had to be upset when she got that call. I don't think that when she sat down with him, that it was acting, when she was very upset and showing her concern. It probably started off that way, but as she looked in her son's face and understood what could happen to him, I think the acting, gave way to reality, because she knows what the outcome could have been because of what's going on in the world. So, I was with her on that. Now, when Bob sat down with him, y'all, what is up with Bob and his sweat? This man, he is sweaty than a motherfucker. I mean, he looked like he is just wringing wet with sweat. I don't know what's going on with that. But when he started off telling Cairo that he couldn't condemn him on his use of marijuana because of the medicinal values of it, I'm sure the look on Sheree's face, she looked like what I would have been if it had been my guy, because you're sitting there like, wait a minute. Why would you tell him that? We're supposed to be the parents. We're supposed to be telling him don't do it. But Bob, quickly turned and explained to his son why he did not agree with what he, had done, because he was not using it for medicinal purposes. He was trying to get his high on. So I commend Bob in that scene. Now, next up, we saw Cynthia and Noel. Now, my review is not in any order, so just bear with me. And them house hunting, she's going to sell the house because Peter wants her to sell it. She says because he does not want her to be there in that house with any other person. But the house that her and Noel looked at, it was really, really nice. And it looked like it was in a peaceful area. And I really loved that house. It seems like her and Noel, they're off to a good start after this divorce, that Cynthia's going to have from Peter. And I wish Noel and Cynthia the best, because after watching last week's episode, you could tell that Cynthia loved Peter, but for her, it was over. When it wasn't working, for her, it was over. And I'm glad she's like that. She doesn't seem like the type that, sticks around when the love is gone. And then the next one up that I remember is Kenya and Matt. Now, y'all, I think that Kenya actually has fallen for this guy. Well, she fell because we know now that they're no longer together. But it seemed like that they had a real relationship going. Now, what I get from it is both of them were a little bit crazy. So two crazies together cancel out each other. But I'm sorry this didn't work, because it seems like that Kenya genuinely liked him and he genuinely liked her. I don't know what happened, but I kind of was happy for Cynthia. For Kenya. I'm not a big Kenya fan, but I don't want to see her unhappy. You don't wish bad luck on anyone. So when she got with Matt, I was happy for her. And I'm sorry that it didn't work out for her, because like I said, I believe that she really was digging him. And I don't know what happened. It's just odd that they're broken up now and slinging arrows at each other in the media. But yeah, him not, being with her on his birthday, I believe that hurt her. And, Candy was questioning her about it. That had to be uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe Candy is questioning her. But Kenya would have done the same thing to anybody else. And speaking of Candy, I was a little amazed when Peter and Todd got together and were talking about the restaurant business. I do not know why Todd was asking Peter for any type of advice. Now, from what we've seen, Peter has had several failures when it comes to his bars and these restaurants that he has opened and closed. He says he's been in the business for over 30 years and that, he has a commitment to it and it's something that he does right. He warned Todd about, the perils of being in a business like that and how it can wreak havoc on a marriage. And Todd seemed to, really listen to what Peter was saying and take it to heart. Todd really seemed to respect Peter's opinion, and I guess it is what it is. They brought up Apollo and how they wish Apollo had been there to see Candy and Todd's restaurant come to fruition. And, Todd had asked Peter, had he heard from Apollo? And Peter told him that he had talked to him within the month. Now that brings us to Phaedra and this bomb threat. I really sympathize with Phaedra doing this, because right now we're looking at what happened in hindsight, and we have our little giggles and all of that. But at the time when this happened and Phaedra was contacted about it, I know she had to be worried about, like Apollo said, does that person know where you live? Because at the time she probably didn't know what was going on and how bad it was, and if that person couldn't find her at the office, would they go then to her home and endanger her children, possibly her parents? So this had to be kind of nerve-wracking to her. Now, something that I didn't like, it seemed like when Candy got the news about, you know, what had happened with Phaedra, she was kind of making light of it. Even though she said that, no, this is a serious thing that happened, it was a little, I don't know, like a little joke for her. And, you know, Kenya surprisingly stepped in and said, well, wait a minute, she has those 2 kids, and I don't want anything to happen to her children. And it was surprising that it was Kenya that, you know, brought up, you know, wait a minute, let's take this seriously, because, you know, Phaedra does have a family and her sons are innocent in all of this. I don't know, y'all. It just made me feel some kind of way about Candy. Now, on Real Housewives of Atlanta, I really don't have any favorites. None of them do I like better than the other, but I really used to like Candy, but I'm starting not to like her. I'm starting to see things about Candy that, you know, after the show, it leaves me questioning her. You know, and I hate to be that way, because I genuinely liked Candy in the past. I felt like of all the housewives, she was the realest, and it's something in Candy that has changed, and I don't know if it's because she's married now. Now, she did bring up on this episode how her and Todd are now the last ones standing. She talked about Apollo and Phaedra splitting, and Cynthia and Peter splitting. Now, I didn't take that as her, you know, kind of bragging. Basically, what it is it is a fact. But what I want Candy to do is to not, you know, speak too much on that, because the Real Housewives of franchise has a history of couples starting out married when they come on the show, and then, you know, the show seems to put like a spotlight or a magnifying glass on their relationship, and then next thing you know, they're getting a divorce. So Candy needs to step back, keep her opinions kind of to herself, and focus on her new marriage, her new baby, and not get into that discussing the problems of the other couples. Because what normally happens is, you know, few seasons down the line, if they start having problems, meaning Candy and Todd, then what they're going to do is do all these flashbacks to her speaking negatively or laughing about the demise of the other couple's marriages, and then it's going to make her look stupid. I, you know, hope only the best for her and Todd, but I want her to kind of cool it with, you know, this little thing that I'm starting to notice about her kind of getting a big head. And then another thing, y'all, that kind of left me a little bit like, Candy, come on, please, is the whole thing with Mama Joy setting up that romantic little time for them. First of all, it was a little yucky to me to have your mom doing that. I can't picture my mother doing anything like that. And then having handcuffs and all that stuff there, I just can't see my mother doing nothing like that. And then that whole thing with Todd licking her ass. I mean, look, in the privacy of our own bedrooms, we all got a little freak in us, and we do things that, you know, whatever we want to do in the confines of our marriage is fine. But I don't want to see that on television. They could have did that little scene in a sexy little way, and, you know, not all this licking and lapping. We all know that Candy and Todd is a little freaky. I mean, it's a fact. But some things, because, you know, she does have a teenage daughter that has to go to school. See, when you're on these shows, you got to think about all that. You got kids that go to school and their friends watch these shows, and, you know, your child has to go to school after this, and they could be teased over some of this stuff. So I just think, like I said, Candy needs to kind of summer her relationship. Don't put the just the ins and outs of it. Now, we all know Bravo has a way of finding out everything, but I wouldn't give them, ammunition to have my shit all out there, all crazy. I just wouldn't do it, because Andy and Bravo, they seem like they search for any chink in your armor of your marriage, and then they exploit it. They already have Candy's baby's daddy on there, and they seem to are gonna exploit that. And I think for her daughter's sake, maybe they should leave that alone, because again, that child has to go to school, and you know how kids are. We got teenagers that are being teased that have committed suicide. So some things, I think Andy and Bravo should leave that shit alone. Now, with that, y'all, that's the end of my review. If I left anything out, just let me know. And I just want your opinions on some of the things that happened on the show this past Sunday. So leave it down in the comment section. And with that, you guys have a good night. And thanks for watching my video. Bye-bye now.